Yes, welcome everyone once again to Cannabis News with Joe Clare. It's June 5th, 2018, presented by the Marijuana Times. Of course, come check us out on marijuanatimes.org. Click that video tab at marijuanatimes.org. You find all the episodes of Cannabis News. Go check them out. You can also search Vimeo, vimeo.com. Search the Marijuana Times on there or go to vimeo.com/Marijuana Times X. Also on marijuanatimes.org, there's a little video player there with some of our more popular Vimeo videos. If you did not hear, we were caught up in the cannabis purge, the purge of cannabis channels on YouTube. So we're on Vimeo. Go check us out. We're also on Apple Podcasts, of course. Search the Marijuana Times on Apple Podcasts for the audio version of the show today. Audio only version of the show, I should say. Today we're talking about Oregon, kind of a backlog there when it comes to recreational marijuana applications. Also, Colorado, companies in Colorado, cannabis companies in Colorado are finding a novel way and a environmentally friendly way to advertise in Colorado. And also, what many people feared when the medical marijuana program in Ohio has come to pass. We'll talk about all of that. But first, of course, Cannabis News is brought to you by nature-side.com. Check out Nature Side and their organic, all-natural pesticides. You want to be regulatory compliant. You don't want to use harmful chemicals in whatever state you're growing in. So you need Nature Side. Side is spelled C-I-D-E. Nature-side.com. A proud sponsor of Cannabis News with Joe Clare. Go check them out. And their organic, all-natural pesticides. Thank you to Nature Side. This first story is by yours truly over marijuanatimes.org. Oregon to stop processing new recreational marijuana licenses after June 15th. Basically, according to the Oregon Liquor Control Commission, any applications received after June 15th for recreational marijuana business licenses will not be looked at until 2019. Meaning anybody, they have a backlog of applications. They got a lot to get through, a couple thousand to get through. So the ones before June 15th, they're going to use the rest of the year to get through those. And then after June 15th, they'll start looking at those in 2019. Mark Penninger, an OLCC spokesman, said, "We need to focus on what we have and maintain it and get caught up with the backlog. We want people to be aware of it." They've, since April of 2016, the OLCC has issued about 1,900 marijuana licenses, along with 29,000 worker permits. Much like Colorado, every worker has to have a permit to work somewhere in the marijuana supply chain. So basically, they're way behind. Whether or not they'll put more money to it, a bigger budget, whatever. If you're a marijuana business in Oregon and you're trying to get an application in for recreational, whoops, that was wrong. Jumped the gun a little bit there. You want to get a recreational marijuana license in Oregon, if you apply after June 15th, well, you're going to be waiting a while. And it sucks because, as mentioned in the story that I linked to in my piece, there's some people who are, they've been paying rent on a place for a long time in anticipation of getting a license. They've gotten in before the June 15th deadline. They're hoping that they don't get lost in, the shuffle or whatever. It's rough. It's we're seeing these delays more and more in every state that has recreational or medical marijuana. We'll probably continue to do so for the foreseeable future. This next story is from the Rooster.com. Why so many Colorado cannabis companies adopt highway litter patrols? And basically the gist is there's a lot of advertising restrictions in Colorado when it comes to marijuana, billboards and such. It turns out that they can sponsor those little patches of highway, the patch of highway that you sponsor and keep clean or whatever. About half of those, get the exact number, of 160 adopt a highway signs around the state, about 80 are sponsored by cannabis companies in Colorado, which is fantastic. Not only is it great PR, you're keeping the highway clean, a bunch of positives. It's also, as I said, a way around the advertising bans, and people see that and they say, "Hey, that's the weed the kids have been talking about." They see a sign on the highway. They say, "Hey, is that marijuana all those kids are raving about? Let's go check some out." By the way, I think that I don't see the problem with a billboard for a marijuana company. I know in Colorado, I'm sure there's alcohol billboards. I may be wrong about that. There may be a ban. I'm not sure. I know alcohol. There's big alcohol companies in Colorado. The fact that they wouldn't have billboards, I don't know. I don't buy that, but I may be wrong. I'm not a Colorado expert. Let me know in the comments on Vimeo. Go comment on Vimeo. Spread the word on Vimeo. So good for them. This company is getting around the advertising restrictions and doing something good for the environment. A win-win situation, as they say in the business. This last story is from Cincinnati.com, what many had feared, as I said, about Ohio medical marijuana. Marijuana won't be available in Ohio on September 8th. The state has delayed the rollout. Ohio patients will not be able to buy marijuana on September 8th. The anticipated start date for Ohio's medical cannabis program, a lot of people have been conjecturing and predicting this for several months now. In fact, it could take weeks more before medical weed is available for patients, even though it's likely to be available only in limited quantities. Delays in licensing 25 marijuana growers in Ohio have pushed back the program's launch. According to the Ohio Department of Commerce, before planning can begin, the growers must have their facilities inspected by the state and granted a certificate of operation. We really should have plants in the ground by this time, said Mark Hamlin, Ohio Commerce Department spokesman. They go on to talk about how the rollout's been fraught with hiccups and delays. We've chronicled a lot of that here on the show. A lot of delays, a lot of problems with Ohio's medical marijuana program. And as a result, it will not be a September 8th start date, which most people knew. I mean, it's, there's just no way to do it. You have to grow it. It's not rocket science. It's cannabis growing. It's gardening. It's, agriculture. Whatever you want to call it. Cultivation. It's got to be grown. You can't sell anything that's not been grown yet. And they're not growing it yet. They haven't started growing it yet. And that presents a problem, obviously. A lot of people are, ticked off. I don't know. State Senator Kenny Yuko said, quote, "This is a miserable failure." So the patients who were hoping to use marijuana to cope with pain, seizures, digestive problems, and the like, quote, had so much hope and trust, and that trust was taken away. So bad news in Ohio, not surprising news out of Ohio. I'm not going to beat the issue 3 horse. I've said my piece about issue 3, and we see what we got instead in Ohio. I don't know. Theoretically, some marijuana could be available in October. So best case scenario, a month delay, but probably more. If you're waiting for medical marijuana in Ohio, expect more delays and more problems. There's tons of lawsuits. It's a cluster F, as they say, in Ohio. Thanks, everybody, for checking out Cannabis News. It's June 5th, 2018. Make sure you check out marijuanatimes.org. Make sure you check out naturedayaside.com, our proud sponsor. Check out the organic, all-natural pesticides. Thank you to Natureside. Make sure you click that video tab on marijuanatimes.org to find the show. And, of course, spread the word, especially on social media. Share those Vimeo videos, vimeo.com/marijuanatimesx. Like I said, there's a player right there on marijuanatimes.org as well. I can recover from the purge, being part of the purge on YouTube. And we're doing that on Vimeo, so search the Marijuana Times over there. Thanks, everybody, for checking out the show, and we'll see you next time on Cannabis News.